Thinking of moving to Haymarket, Virginia, but you want to know the good, the bad, the yings, the yangs, the pros, the cons of living in Haymarket? Well, that's what we're going to get into today, because I get questions all the time. Justin, should I live in Ashburn? Should I live in South Riding? Should I live in Leesburg? Should I live in Fairfax? Well, these are all great questions, and this is why when people are looking in Haymarket, they're also looking in these other areas east of the Washington, D.C. suburbs to try to make a decision on what's best for their family. So I thought I'd just throw it all out there today and let you know the pros and the cons of living in Haymarket. That way, when you do call me, we can focus on the real estate side of things and find out what's going to work best for your family. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today in this video, and we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications button. That way you won't miss any information about working, living, and thriving right here in Northern Virginia. So if you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, go ahead, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. It's never too early to get in touch. Sold by Folds, I've got your back. Happy to help your family make that smooth move to Northern Virginia. Pros and cons of Haymarket. Today we're going to start with the cons. The first con to living in Haymarket is going to be the traffic. If you're working in the Pentagon or Washington, D.C., commute times can take an hour or longer. On heavy traffic days, they can take an hour and a half, 2 hours each way. So traffic is going to be a major concern living in Haymarket if you're commuting into D.C. Now, since COVID, a lot of people are flex days and working from home. So we do have a lot of people taking advantage of the working from home, which can lessen that traffic burden of living in Haymarket. The second con of living the Haymarket is going to be walkability. Haymarket is beautiful. It's got a lot of stores and shopping centers, but there's not really anything that you can walk to. Everything's going to be about a 5 or 10 minute drive from your house. So you do need a car in Haymarket. There's not a subway out here. There are buses that can take you into DC and up to New York City and things like that. But it's not as urban as some of the areas closer in. The third con to living in Haymarket is going to be a lack of retail stores or finer dining restaurants. We do have a lot out here in Haymarket. We've got Giant Food, we've got Wegmans, we've got Target, Walmart, all your big box stores, but we're lacking those specialty stores like Trader Joe's or those restaurants like Ruth Chris Steakhouse. You're still going to have to drive about 20 or 30 minutes east towards Fairfax to get those types of stores, like an Apple store that can be found at Fair Oaks Mall or in Reston. So just some of those things you will have to drive for living out here in Haymarket. All right, so our fourth con is going to be the weather. DC has some of the craziest weather in the country. The summers are hot as can be. It's just as hot here as it is in Florida in most times. I stay at the pool whenever I can. Fall and spring are my favorite seasons by far, and unfortunately those seem to be the shortest. But September, October, and early November here are just beautiful for the transition into the fall foliage and the fall colors. Then we have winter, where we can get winter storms that bring anywhere from 2 to 3 feet of snow. Every couple of years we'll get one of those. And even if the weather just says there's a chance of snow, they'll cancel school most times these days. And then spring comes in March, and I love spring. All the trees start to blossom again. The flowers come back out, and spring's just fantastic. But before you know it, it's summer again, and spring and fall just seem real short. But the weather here in DC is not the best. We've got real hot summers and cold winters. So the weather's definitely a con for me. All right, the fifth con for living in Haymarket is we're not close to a beach. So if you're a summer guy or a beach guy or gal like I am, the closest beach are going to be the Delaware beaches, which are about 3 hours away with no traffic. But the Bay Bridge always has traffic, so plan about 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours to get to the Delaware beaches. And if you want to get to the Outer Banks of North Carolina beaches, that's going to be 5 hours as well. So we do have a lot of swimming pools and rivers here in Haymarket, but if you're a beach person, you're going to have to get in the car for that one. We definitely don't have any beaches close to Haymarket. All right, now let's get into the pros of living in the Haymarket. The first pro is value. You can get extreme value out here in Haymarket. There's 3 golf course country clubs. There's Dominion Valley, there's Piedmont, there's Evergreen. These are championship golf course country clubs where you can get a detached single family home in the $600,000 to $1 million plus range. That is impossible to find in Fairfax or Loudoun counties. So value is going to be a huge pro to living in Haymarket. Second pro to living in Haymarket is going to be newer construction and more modern floor plans. Haymarket has really sprung up in the last 20 years. Before that, it was just a sleepy old town with cow fields and pastures. And so compared to Fairfax and Loudoun counties, which were developed, 50 to 100 years ago, where you're going to find small brick ranchers with outdated floor plans, you're not going to find much of that out here in Haymarket. Almost everything was built since the year 2000. So you're going to see a lot more modern homes and a lot more modern floor plans, which I know you're all looking for. The third pro to living in Haymarket are the schools. There are great schools out here in Haymarket. Go to greatschools.org or niche.com. But Battlefield High School is a very highly rated high school. It's located right in Dominion Valley off Route 15. For some other people in Haymarket, you may be able to go to the Gainesville High School, which just opened last year. So we have 2 premier high schools and great school pyramids. Again, I recommend you go to a site like greatschools.org or niche.com to confirm that. But the schools out here are just fantastic. It's one of the reasons many families are moving out here. Combined with that value and modern floor plan, the schooling is just fantastic and the kids are in great position to succeed. So the fourth pro to living in Haymarket is going to be opportunity. There's a ton of opportunity here in Haymarket and the surrounding areas. We have corporations like Micron here in Manassas, which just invested $1 billion in their chip factory here, right here in Manassas, just 5-10 minutes from Haymarket. We also have Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, SAIC, all your major defense contractors are opening out here or real close to out here. And that's just going to be fantastic for people that don't need to commute into DC anymore. They can go to Chantilly, Fairfax, Manassas, areas much closer to Haymarket. So there's tremendous opportunity out here. We're seeing raw land starting to be gobbled up by developers. So this area is just booming. Great time to be in Haymarket, a great position to move your family here. And the fifth pro to living in Haymarket, which is one of my favorite, is the location to vineyards and breweries and the Skyline Drive. Haymarket is right on the edge of urban sprawl. Almost everything to the west of Haymarket is going to be beautiful green Virginia countryside. We're less than an hour to the world famous Skyline Drive. Wineries, vineyards, and breweries have started dotting that landscape over the last 20 years. So if you're into relaxing on the weekends, going for a hike, taking the kids and the family to a brewery for live music, hatchet throwing, drinking out in the fields, and then we've got tons of that here for you guys. If you ladies are into the vineyards, we're real close to Stone Tower, Bull One Winery, Delaplane. There's fantastic vineyards, and Virginia wine has become world-class over the last 20 years. So I would say the pros definitely outweigh the cons here for Haymarket. And so whether it's going to be 9 days or 90 days, you're thinking of moving here or anywhere in Northern Virginia, it's never too early to give me a call, shoot me a text, send me a DM. Sold by Folds, I've got your back in Northern Virginia, looking to help your family make that smooth move.